Good morning, Haley. I'm so glad
Hello.
to have you here. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. And you too.
I wanted to ask, where are you from, Haley?
So I'm in upstate New York, so kind of in the Albany capital region area. Yeah.
I've always wanted to visit. I'm a little bit scared. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little bit scared of the East Coast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't know. We're so diverse in California that it's a little bit intimidating to go to the East Coast.
There are many different places, and they are all different. And they're really great, though. You should come visit.
Yes. One day I'll make it to New York. One day.
Sounds great.
I'm a little bit scared more than anything about like the traffic and like, the subways and all that.
Right. So New York City is about 3 hours south of here, 3 to 4 hours.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
We're not in the city, and I generally don't drive in the city. So I'm with you on that.
Yes. Well, yeah, because if you're upland, then you're a little bit more up north.
More suburban,
Yeah. It's like I live in San Diego, so I'm south of LA. But
okay,
with traffic, that's a 3-hour drive to LA.
Yeah, those are big cities.
Huge. It's so annoying. But yes, oh my God. Okay, so before we even start talking and dive into our topic today, I want to let people know, where can they find you?
Sure. So all of my videos hit TikTok first. So it's at Budget Fastlane. And then I also have my website, budgetfastlane.com. And that's where, it's kind of the hub where you can find all of the information.
Yes. And resources. You guys, please write it down. Go check her out. Give her a follow. I think what you're doing, Haley, is amazing because you are giving us such good tips. And especially on TikTok, many of us join a little bit later than our kids.
Yes, I know. We're finally getting to the party.
Yes, we're finally getting to my son's like, you guys ruined it, because he's like, this was not TikTok before.
Right.
But I think, what you're doing, the kind of content that you create is very informative and very important for young people to listen to. But I do want to clarify, I feel like her information hits many of us. It doesn't matter where we come from, what age we are, and where we find ourselves financially. We can always learn something. We learn something new every single day, hopefully.
Yeah, we should.
So how did you even get started? Let's start there. I would love to hear this.
Sure. Okay. So I'm in my mid-30s now, and all throughout my 20s, I was working, I was spending money. I didn't really know how to budget. I kind of knew that, you had to pay your bills and you should probably save some money. But then there's lots of things that you want to buy, right? And life moves on, and there's always something new, and there's always something that you can upgrade to. And then, we wanted to buy a house, and we were going to have a baby, and all the expenses that come with that. And it just became kind of like a snowball of like, let's add this, and let's do that, and let's get the patio furniture, and let's, go on this vacation. And oops, that cost a lot more than we thought it would, and now it's on the credit card. And
not to mention the emergencies.
Right. Yeah. Things that come up, like, when the dog ate things the dog was not supposed to eat. Happens a lot. And then suddenly you've got this massive vet bill. And things you just don't see coming. So I ended up in this situation where I wasn't really paying that much attention to what was on the credit card and what the APR was and how much interest we were paying, partly because so I'm divorced now, but my husband at the time was very focused on, like, every day he would log in and check the accounts, and he was very on top of it. And so I kind of just took not that I wasn't a part of it, but I was like, if anything goes wrong, if there's any fraudulent charges, like, he's going to catch it. I don't really have to log in. And so I wasn't really paying attention, and life just happened. And so suddenly, I found myself with 2 young kids and getting a divorce, and And then we had all this debt from when we were married, and that got split up in a particular way in the divorce settlement. But then there was all this other debt of my attorney, and I had to buy a car, and then, just other stuff and living expenses, because I was still living in this rented townhouse, like 3-story townhouse with me and 2 kids on my income. And so I felt like I was hemorrhaging money. And it suddenly got to this point, I'll never forget it. It was it was February of 2000. Well, I'm going to forget the year at this point. I think it was February of 2020. It might have been 2019. And the point is, it was snowing outside and it was late one night. And I just was looking through all the bills and everything. And my attorney had called me and said, I need another $5,000. Your retainer is out. And, the divorce wasn't settled. So I was going to have to pay her more money. And I'm going through my credit cards, what do I still have more before I hit my credit limit? Can I charge another $700 to this one? Can I charge another? I'm piecing it all together. And I'm thinking, that my credit cards were kind of my backup plan for groceries. And now I'm going to max them all out to pay this retainer. And I don't know if there's going to be enough money in my bank account to pay the bills this month. And I know that I made it all the way to, my early 30s at that point before I really hit what I would call rock bottom. And I know many people hit this much sooner. This is their reality of not knowing if you can pay the bills. But I finally hit that point, and it was just the most, heart-wrenching feeling. And I literally felt, I don't know if other people feel this, it feels like a white hot ball of dread in your stomach of I'm either going to throw up or pass out or both. And I don't know what we're going to do. And, so that was the moment where I was like, that's it. I don't know. I have to fix this. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I cannot keep living like this. I have to turn this around. And the other piece of it at that point was there's nobody else to blame it on. I was no longer living with, my ex-husband, soon to be ex-husband, and all of our finances were split. And so every purchasing decision at that point was mine. It's not even I could say, well, he shouldn't have bought that. It's all me now. But it's all me to fix it. And so it was kind of that empowerment in my head. And it was just me. I had nobody on my side. And that's partially why I started the Budget Fast Lane, and I'm launching the budget map, which I'm sure we'll get to. But it's such a lonely experience when you hit that moment and you're thinking either you're alone or you've got your spouse or you're fighting over finances, or even if you've got friends or other family, you may not want to talk about this stuff. You don't want to tell them. So who are you supposed to talk to? And you're up all night, you're crying, you're upset, you're freaking out over what am I going to do? How many options do I have? And then you're going down the list of not so great options, and it gets really scary. So I hit that point. I started Googling, how do you start a budget? How do you get out of debt? How do you pay off credit cards? And I ended up finding You Need a Budget. So it's called YNAB, and it's an app, it's a website, it's a book, it's a philosophy, it's everything all in one. And it's basically a revolutionary way to budget that I say turns budgeting upside down on its head, because it forces you to budget effectively in a way that you had never really thought to do that. And that's why you were in debt. So.
Wow.
And that's how it started.
So hold on, because I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. What you just said is so important to share, because yes, we don't talk about these things to our friends, to our family, because other than feeling like that big ball of just fire in your gut, you feel shame.
Yes.
You feel embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
I think, at least for me, I'll speak for myself because I've been there, Haley. Mm-hmm. For myself, I felt like I was so isolated and so alone, and I almost felt like this was my big girl moment. I can't run to daddy and mommy because I'm going to get a lecture because they taught me better.
Right.
But I didn't realize, the APRs and all that, and all these terms that we know, we hear them, but we don't understand them because nobody ever sat us down and said, this is what this means. This is how it impacts you. And like you said, I think something that I really connected with you on right now is realizing, how am I going to provide food? Something that is so basic, but so necessary when we have kids, when we have careers.
Right.
That's a very scary feeling, but I want people to know and to listen. She went through it. I went through it. There's nothing for you to be ashamed of. You should be ashamed if you know that you're doing wrong and you don't do nothing about it.
Right.
That's where the shame should be. That's where the embarrassment should be. If you're not learning, and you keep continuing to make those decisions. So you describing that moment, it was like a little flashback. Yes.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, can connect with that. I mean, it's a huge scale of, how bad is it for everybody? But I feel like everybody really experiences that at some point of like, oh my gosh, that's it. I need to get it together here. I need to switch this around because it's not looking great. But then it's the question of, what do you do? Where do you start? And what I've discovered, so I'll see if I can kind of like, shorten the rest of it, is that, so I went through this process. I downloaded the app. I learned how to use it, watched all the videos, read all the stuff, put in a lot of time. It was a steep learning curve to learn how to do this because it did everything backwards from the way that I had been doing it, kind of. And once I did that, over the next 3 years or so, it was probably a little less than 3 years, I paid off all of my debt. And I got, I'm now 1 month ahead in my budget. And my financial stress is like zero. It's probably in the negatives, because just knowing that, short of like a massive catastrophe, like, yeah, no problem. We can handle it. There's money. It's not an issue. I'm never worried about, do I have the money to pay that or anything like that? And it is such, a 180 from where I was, that it was about a year ago is when I got the idea that, I've always wanted to launch a side business on top of what my day job. I work in education. I teach all day. And so I thought, this is my passion, right? Like, I could talk about this all day long, and I, bore people to death with it. I've got plenty of people, that I know. They're like, oh God, it's the budgeting thing again. And so I thought, this could be really awesome and helpful. And it turns out that YNAB was offering a certified coaching program that they had recently launched. It was fairly new, and you had to apply and get accepted. It was kind of like applying to college, and then you had to pay tuition to attend it. And it was a 9-week program, all virtual. And then there was an exam at the end. And so I became a certified YNAB budget coach. And so now I feel really confident in not only like using YNAB the way I've used it and as, just me, but I learned all the other pieces of it, like how to coach couples on this and how to do this, things that I haven't used it for. So I got all those other pieces of it. But then I still thought it's not just enough to learn how to use this app. That's not really the journey I went through. I went through so much more of like a transformational journey of, and this kind of ties in the minimalism piece, and just minimalism isn't about owning hardly anything. It's about owning what you love and focusing solely on what you love. So how do you create a life where you're budgeting for what you love and you're not spending money and wasting money on all the other stuff that's like, in the target dollar spot, right?
Oh, God.
And, right. So all the other random stuff we buy that we don't really care about. And so how do you design this life and get on this debt-free journey and get there and then maintain it? It's so much more than just using the app. So that's kind of, I feel like my mission and purpose is to help people wrap all those things together.
Wow. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that was the second thing I wanted to talk about, minimalism. I think a lot of people, when they hear that word, it's like, well, I'm not going to put myself in a little tiny house, and I'm not going to downgrade this, and I'm not going to downgrade that. No, it's really focusing, because your mindset has to change.
Yes.
It all starts in the mind. It's almost like if you want to lose weight, right? Or even if you want to gain weight.
It's exactly like losing weight. It really is.
You have to start in your mind. Your mindset matters so much. So everything that you're consuming through your ears and through your eyes is very important. And staying present in the moment and keeping your goals in the big picture is very important.
Yes.
And I think that, yes, especially living in this country, I feel like we are so materialistic, because there's always a new commercial, a new car, a new cell phone, and it's so easy to upgrade.
Yeah.
It's so
and now
easy.
With credit cards and Apple Pay, Google Pay, just push a button from your bed and it'll be at your door in, tomorrow.
I my last car that I purchased it on the internet. I did everything online. I went into the dealership, just got my keys in my car, and I didn't even have to deal with the salesman.
Oh my God.
Like, that's how easy they're doing this for you. Like, you don't even have to talk to a human being. You don't even have to go through that process. You just a button, and that's it.
Right.
But being able to recognize, hey, what are you using this car for? Are you going to try to impress others and pretend that you have this lifestyle that you really don't? Or do you need it to get you from point A into point B? And that doesn't mean that you have to drive a Pinto.
Right. But there's middle ground.
There's middle ground.
Right.
You want a reliable car. I want a car that's not going to come with all the... At least for me, I'm speaking for myself. Yeah. I don't need something with all the whistles and, fancy stuff. I just want a car that's reliable. Because I have a son, and he goes to school, and, I work. I have to go get groceries. I have to do this. I have to do that.
Right.
So I don't need the Land Rover, because I used to have a Land Rover.
Wow. Yeah.
But I didn't need it. I really didn't.
Oh my gosh.
And it's hard to let go of those things.
It is. I actually just, the program that I'm working on developing, called the Budget Map, I'm in the beta stage right now, where now that I've written it and it's almost ready to be live, I'm running it with a couple of people that I've invited to help me out with it. And so they're seeing the material and working through it. And, one guy that I'm working with, he actually so we talked about working together. We hadn't even had our first meeting, and he made the decision to sell his newer car that he had just bought this year. And I think he took a loss on it, but he got out from under it because he had another car that was already paid off. And he realized, that was setting him back from achieving his other goals of paying off all his debt. So, cars can be one of those tough things, because, you already went through that process of choosing it and you love it. And now you feel obligated to keep it. And it's much harder to give it up than it would have been a decision before you bought it,
But I think I ended up realizing it was more just emotional for me, because that was such a big achievement for me, right? Who doesn't want a Land Rover? Land Rovers are beautiful.
Right.
Don't get a Land Rover. They're the most annoying cars ever, because they're always, some sensor always goes off. They're very high maintenance cars. But it was the realization of, I'm going to lose money. So this car doesn't even have the value that I'm placing on it.
Right. It's
and
a
when
status
you
thing.
realize that, oh, it hits you. It hits you because you're like, oh, it's not that it's an important car or, a status. Like, that doesn't even matter, because when it comes down to numbers,
right,
you take a loss.
Yeah. Yep. And that really is like one example of everything that comes into the overspending picture, is that the reason we buy things, aside from like literally food and paying rent, when we make a choice to buy something, it's because of how we think it's going to make us feel. So you've had this image in your head of how you thought you would feel if you owned a Land Rover. And so you chose that one because you felt that it would, not necessarily make you look rich, but I mean, you make you feel successful. It would make you feel proud of yourself. It would make you feel like, you were on track to, X, Y, and Z, and you'd be happy every day driving it.
Yes.
And so that's why we make these decisions. But, so it becomes a challenge to overcome that. And that's, it's kind of a complicated process because we're not logical the way numbers and formulas are. Like, you can look at it on paper and be like, oh, it's going to cost me this, but you're still going to feel those things. So overcoming that is more of a process.
Yes. So don't blame yourself if you're looking at that brand new model and you really, really want it. And, it's okay. Maybe one day you will be able to afford it, and I think that's why we see so many grandmas and grandpas like really stunning out here. I saw I think it was a few days ago, I saw a grandma on a brand new Mercedes-Benz, beautiful car.
Oh my gosh.
She even had the top off because it was convertible. And I was like, oh my God. I want to be that age and have that car at that age, though.
Right.
Because she probably has it all figured out by then, hopefully. But I'm like, okay, now that makes sense. But when you have a family and you have other responsibilities, don't be so hard on yourself.
Right.
And don't be scared to live that minimalist. Or I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. But but being minimal with your purchases and having that intention, I think that's where the mindset comes in. So you guys take note of that.
Yeah. I think people, part of what is so challenging about being on the journey to become debt free is many people have kind of always lived in scarcity or always lived in debt, and they don't really know what it's like to not feel that way. It's their baseline. So I do oftentimes compare the debt-free journey to a weight loss journey. It's very similar in many ways. And the reason I make that comparison is because a weight loss journey and diet culture is something people are very familiar with, those terms and the way we talk about it. So I think it's that when we're on a journey to become debt-free and we don't know what the end result is going to look like. So, for example, if you're on a weight loss journey and you've always, been larger than you always wanted to be, you're aiming to be smaller or fitter or whatever it is than you've ever been, you don't really know what that's going to look like and feel like to you. And so it's hard to, part of what they say for successful, like athletes, they envision themselves, they visualize what it looks like to dribble the ball down the court. They visualize everything. That's part of success. And if you can't literally picture what that's going to look like, it makes it very hard to get there. Like it's more roadblocks in the way. So it's important to acknowledge that's making it challenging, but it's also making it so that you're not really taking action because you don't really think it's possible. Many people are just like, well, I mean, I've always been a dad and my family generations back, like we've always had trouble with money. So it's not like we're going to be any different. And why bother sacrificing what I want now for the opportunity to become debt free? Because how long is it really going to take? What's it really going to feel like? Will it really be worth it? I don't know. And I'm here to tell you it's 1000% worth it, because the lack of stress over money is just like, you cannot even quantify it. It is absolutely worth it. But I just think that's why so many people just stay in this middle ground of debt purgatory, because they don't really, it's not worth it to get out when you can't visualize what that's going to look like.
Yes. Oh my God. Oh, I love you, Haley. I love you because I always, I've heard this phrase before. I'm sure you have too. You cannot buy peace.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
There's no amount of money you could be making.
Right.
I know people.
Right.
Thankfully, I have very successful friends, that are earning top dollar.
Mm-hmm.
But the more they earn, the more they spend, the more problems they have. And then comes the very, very popular, Sean Puffy Combs line that says more money, more problems.
Yeah.
So the answer is not for you to earn more money.
Mm-hmm.
The answer is for you to be able to manage that money.
Right.
And
exactly.
Yes, you can buy peace by choosing how you live your life. And finding that peace in your life is like nothing else. Right, Haley?
Right. Yes, it really is.
Oh my God. Like you said, right now that you said, you're like, I don't have to worry about if something happens to me right now, I'm covered for a few months because I've saved enough to cover myself. And I think it's very hard for people to kind of categorize and put things. I grew up, watching American TV, Full House, Sister, Friends. Oh my God, Friends. I remember when Monica Geller was in trouble, that she had lost her job, and she's about to ask her parents, and the dad's like, "Oh no, our little harmonica knows. Where does 10% of your check go?" But I never understood that because that wasn't taught to me.
Right.
And so once I started earning money, I started spending money. And then it was like, well, where am I supposed to get the 10% from?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And some people are so overflown with just so many responsibilities that you're like, well, where can I cut it? You could start so minimal. And I say this all the time. I'm like, I've told friends before, at least, this is where I started my journey. Subscriptions out.
Yes. Most people don't even realize what subscriptions they're still getting charged for. That's a factor. Those recurring monthly, yearly, big problem.
And I always say, start there. Start looking at what you're paying for every single month. And it's not about what you want. Because we all want to live a comfortable lifestyle, don't we, Haley? I love VIP treatment. I love first class flying. Give me the best room in the hotel. But do you need it?
Right.
So,
and I think there's also room for, there's things that you want, but as long as you budget for it, it's okay.
Yes.
So, and I think that's something that's really unique and like a big focus of YNAB is that it's and it influences how I work and operate as a budget coach is that I'm the zero judgment budget coach. Like we don't do judgment around here. So it doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't, I'm not going to be like, oh, I wouldn't spend my money on that. Or are you sure that's a good use of money? Like that's not my job to determine that. That's based on you and your priorities. All I care about is, did you budget for it? Like if it's in your budget, if you saved up for it, if you're not neglecting your other priorities, if you're working toward paying off debt, then just budget for what's a priority for you. And I'll show you how to do it. And, then you can get it and not feel bad about it or guilty.
Yes. So. And even, once you start learning about financials and stuff like that, you start learning how to use credit cards appropriately. And some of these of flying first class, staying in the best hotel room, come from you using your credit card appropriately.
That's right.
That blew my mind, Haley. I was like, wait, what? Credit cards are not just to like help with groceries when you don't have savings? Wait, what?
Yeah, the rewards are awesome.
Yeah. And it's like, but you have to be responsible. You have to
Right.
have that mindset.
Yes.
You have to learn those little tricks and not put that stress on yourself, because I feel like a lot of divorces, a lot of things also happen to the stress that puts on you. And like you said, maybe somebody that's listening to us right now doesn't even realize that they have that kind of stress and what it's doing to their body.
They probably think like this level of arguing about money or just, having money stresses is normal. And not to say it's not normal. It actually probably is normal because it's so common. But it doesn't have to be that way. And so, when I'm coaching people to pay off debt, I do tell them to stop using credit cards until you are debt free. But once you're debt free, or at least credit card debt free, and you feel that you're going to be able to use them in a way to get those rewards, but you're not going to carry debt, then go for it. Like, that's one of the things that I absolutely love about YNAB is it does credit cards in a totally different way. And there's psychology behind this. It's that we feel the pain of a purchase at the time we pay. And so many people, and me for so long, would buy things left and right all throughout the month and go shopping, go do this, have that, event, and put it all on your credit card. And then when the statement arrives, 30 days after it closes or whatever it is, after you finish spending, you suddenly, like by the time so the statement arrives and then you have to pay it 30 days later is what I mean. It's so far removed from when you had those experiences or paid for those things that now the point at which you are paying is when you feel the pain. And it's that far in the future that it's so backwards. It's like you really should be taking the money out of your budget the day you buy the thing and put it on your credit card. But without something like YNAB, how are you supposed to literally do that? Like it becomes a very clumsy, cluttered process. So what YNAB does is it's like digital envelopes. If you've put, $500 in your entertainment fund and you go out for a weekend and you end up spending let's say $300, if that's, let's say it was one charge, that you put the charge in as a transaction and you tell it you charged it to your credit card, but you tell it what category it came out of. And then YNAB will take that $300 from the $500 in that category, move it up to the credit card line and hold it there. So now when you go to look at your entertainment budget, let's go out again, all you see is $200 because the $300 is already spent.
Done.
And then anytime you go to pay your credit card, it's already sitting there waiting. And this is why I always say you have to check your budget, not your bank account, when you make spending decisions. Because if you looked in your bank account, you'd still see all the money and you'd think you could spend it. But you've already spent it. You just haven't paid it yet. Yeah.
Wow. I remember that made me remember when I saw myself at my lowest financially. I looked at my credit card statements. And tell me if you went through this, Haley, because I'm sure our listeners did. I was like, where the hell did that money go?
Wait, what did I even buy?
What do I have to show for it?
Right.
What, where do I have, where?
Right.
And like you said, then you realize, it's because in that moment, that's how I was feeling. I found that was supposed to be important. And it was going to make me feel better because, you know what? I deserve it, right? That's the famous line. That's the famous line. I work hard for my money. I put in those, 80 hours every 2 weeks. I work really hard. I deserve it.
That is exactly something we're going to be talking about in my program. Like that line, I deserve it. I work hard.
Yes. And that's something that I'm still currently working on. It's been, off air, we were talking, it's been a very stressful couple weeks.
Yes.
And just yesterday, I was in the hospital with my husband and I'm like, I deserve to go get a really good meal. I was just craving the fancy restaurant that I love to go to. I'm not going to give no promo, but,
right.
And I was thinking, I was like, tomorrow I'm going to go. And then today I woke up in the morning and I'm like, I don't need to go. I have food in the fridge.
Do you want me to tell you what you just did there? That is a micro example of the 72-hour rule. You put space between the purchase and between the impulse and the purchase. And so that's why I say I go with the 72-hour rule. Before you buy something that's not a necessity, you have to wait 3 days before you decide to purchase it. And you waited. And the reason I say 3 days is I have ADHD. Impulsive shopping is something that I struggle with. So I wait longer but overnight for you was even enough where you were like, you know what? That's not really how I want to spend my money. I prefer there's better things,
yes.
Yes. So you changed your mind on that because you waited long enough. And this is exactly why I say it's just like, diet culture or being on, a fitness journey or a meal plan where you have to wait for the craving to pass.
Yes.
Like if you have a craving for chocolate cake, you should wait a half hour and see if you still want chocolate cake. And maybe you'll remember, no, actually, I really want to lose weight.
You know what's another little trick? I don't know where I learned this from, but I learned it somewhere. Another little trick that I use, I love clothing and shoes and purses. Of course, as women, we're like, we want it all when we go into a department store. Target is our biggest enemy. I mean, you walk in, everything looks beautiful. The lights are...
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. But I always say when I walk into one of those stores and I see something that I want, I'll put a purse as an example, right? Because they're so easy to buy. I look at the purse, I see how much it costs. I think about how many times can I use it because we're always changing purses. But then I don't buy it right away. I go actually just keep on going. I'm like, if I remember about this purse.
Oh, good tip. That's great.
If I remember the purse or the sweater or the shoes or the dress, I'll come back for it.
Right. If it's worth it, if it stays with you.
If it stays with me. And sometimes, I'll even do, because we all shop online, I'll put stuff in my Amazon cart. Oh, girl. The little cart is like at 1,000 something. Yes. And I'm like, if I remember what I have in that cart, but without looking at it. Don't go into, do your shopping, leave your stuff there. If you remember what you chose and what you have in your cart, then think about it.
Right.
But most of the time, 95% of the time, I cannot tell you, even if my life depended on it, what kind of dress it was or what purse it had, or, I just don't remember. And so I'm like, it wasn't important enough for me because I don't even remember. Right.
You just thought that it would make you feel better in that moment. Yes. So that's why you were thinking about getting it,
Yes. So I love that. I love that. So I'm doing something right.
Oh, yeah. You absolutely are. Oh, my gosh.
Yes. And like I said, I don't have it all figured out. I'm still learning. I sometimes look at your videos and I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that. Oh, I should write it out. I should get that template. I should do this. And, you have to work with what you have.
Right. We are all on this journey. And I absolutely have not figured everything out. Like, it is all just, a journey toward getting better, building your net worth. And I remember when I first started, I went to this presentation about investing and building your, wealth portfolio. And I'm hiding in the back, you must be kidding me. I'm drowning in debt. And what wealth are we even talking about? And it felt so embarrassing in my head. And it makes me realize now that if that's where you would hope to be someday, I do not advise on investing. That's not my thing. But in order to get you to the point where you could, you have to go through this process of paying off debt and budgeting and saving the money that you could then take to a financial advisor and say, I want to invest in the stock market, or I want to whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. Or save more for my retirement fund through my work. You're not going to have the money for that if you're not figuring out your budgeting and paying off debt process.
100%. And I think that's where, it kind of connects to what we were saying at the beginning, feeling that shame. You shouldn't feel that shame. If that's where you see yourself, you have to go through that pain. You have to feel like you just have to. And most of us, speaking for myself, most of us don't want to feel that. We don't want to face our errors. We don't want to face that shame. Right. We're like, oh my God, no. Like, I'll take
you
it
don't
tomorrow.
want to admit that you could have made it better. Like that it was your fault, that you should have done better, that you know.
But the first step to recovery, you guys, is
admitting it to yourself.
Yes. Admitting that you have a problem. Because most of us do. And when I say we have a problem is that, either we lack information and knowledge, we lack resources, we lack, just basic information that for whatever reason we weren't taught. What is the number one mistake that you see families do?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, probably that they're not using a zero-based budget. So let me explain to you so for years, like all throughout my 20s when I was married and had kids, like we would basically just spend and not really think much about budgeting. But then, there would be some months, especially around the holidays, where we were like, that's it. We got to get it together. We got to build a budget. We got to, stick to a budget. We're going to cut our grocery spending. And we would sit down and I'd be like, all right, here's our piece of paper. We're going to list out every bill. And he'd be going through this statement. So like, all right, we paid the internet. We paid okay, I'm writing down the internet. And we'd go through this whole thing and we would list every bill and anything that showed up as, expense that had to be paid. We would list groceries and gas. And that would be it. And then we would total it all up. And then I would list my paycheck and be like, well, I get paid twice a month and here it is. And here's how much we're all making. And I'd be like, oh, look at all this extra money. Like, what we're doing fine. Like, we've got plenty of extra money every month. Like, we just have to stick to this budget. And it's groceries. We just have to fix the groceries. We would do this all the time. And you want to know what happens 30 days later? There's no money in the bank account. We're down to like freaking out. Like, okay, well, don't pay that one yet. We got to wait for the paycheck to hit. And I'm like, why is it that it looks so great on paper, but yet at the end of the month or 3 days before my paycheck, we have massive problems yet? Like, what are we doing wrong? Well, I can tell you now, because I had no idea for like 10 years. It's that's like category like 1 and 2, basically, or depending on how you do it. But like a classic 5 category budget, that's like kind of like one category of it. Everything else that really should be factored into your budget, we weren't factoring in. We didn't include non-monthly bills and expenses, which are called your true expenses or your sinking funds. Like, what happens when I go get my hair cut? What happens when we need new clothes? What happens when the kids need new clothes? What happens when we sign the kids up for soccer? Did I put that in there? Because, we don't always do it. It's not a monthly thing. We just sometimes sign them up at the Y. And then suddenly $50 later, or what happens when somebody, it's someone's birthday at work and all the girls go out and, like $60 later after we pay for, appetizers and drinks, like that's not in there. And so that is why people are in debt, because they did what I did initially. They listed all their bills. They said, look at all this extra money we have. We're doing fine. And then they spent it not factoring in that we actually need to budget for all of life. And they weren't budgeting for, let's say, the holidays, let's say Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever it is. And I would get to, October and be like, oh my God, Christmas is coming. We gotta start putting money away. And it was probably 3 years ago was the first year where I started saving year round for Christmas. And that was like mind blowing to me, like that I know that's existed for years. Like plenty of people are aware of that. But for me,
there's many that don't know that. There's many people that don't know that. Just like
they just put on the credit card and pay it later.
Exactly. And you know what's funny?
And then that's why January we're all freaking out.
Yes. What's really funny to me is that I see, I live in San Diego, which is a big city. And so 7 to 9 a.m., there's traffic, people going to work and doing all that. Haley, October to March.
Yeah.
It's at an all-time highs. I'm like, what is going on? Everybody's going to work. Like, everybody. Like, the freeways are at a standstill. You kind of don't really get out of the traffic until, like, 10:30.
Like second jobs and stuff? Or, like extra work?
I'm like, that's the only logic that I can find, that it's the holidays and people are just trying to survive for the holidays. Because it's not a coincidence that any other time of the year, traffic is very predictable.
Wow, that's interesting.
But it's the holidays. And I live close to downtown San Diego.
Yeah.
So, you see, and there's traffic in all directions. Usually, in every other time of the year, during summer, stuff like that, when the traffic is going north and when it's coming south and when it's going east and west. But just the other day, I was taking my son to school at the beginning of October. I'm driving him to school. And there was traffic every which way. And
oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh, it's that wonderful time of the year.
Yep.
And, for you to say that, you were saving up the whole year.
Right.
You don't have that stress.
Right. Exactly. So, and even the other kinds of things, like, your car insurance. For years, I would pay that monthly, and now I pay it, every 6 months and save, like, they give you a percentage off or whatever it is. But every month I'm putting the money aside for the car insurance bill. And then when that 6-month bill arrives, it's not like I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay this? Like, it's all just sitting there. It's all set to go. And that's the thing about YNAB is, like, you set targets. You say, I need my, my Christmas fund. I want to have this much money saved by, I even say by November 1st. And so that I can start shopping or whatever it is. And it will put you on track. It will tell you how much you have to save each month. And let's say you had 1 month where life happened and there were all these emergencies and you couldn't put the money aside for it. That's fine. It just tells you that the next month you owe a little more. Like, it reruns the numbers and tells you how much you need to now save to hit your goal on time.
Yes.
So it's doing it all for you. You just have to, you fill in the gaps whenever you get paid. And it doesn't matter if you get paid twice a month or, not predictably, or, you work on commission and you don't know how much you're going to make. That's the whole thing about a zero-based budget, is that you just budget the money you have whenever you get it, and you budget it out. And eventually you're going to get farther and farther ahead until you're 1 month ahead. And then you don't have to worry, because where are we in the month? It's the middle of the month, but all of my November paychecks are going to fund December. So when we hit December 1st, all of December is funded. I don't have to worry about, I got to wait for my paycheck to come in because, that bill can't come out too soon. It's all there the whole month.
How many of us, especially in America, are living paycheck to paycheck?
So many. And I mean, especially after COVID and everything. And I know what that's like. Like, I lost my job during COVID. Mm-hmm. So I know what that's like to worry and to then be living on less. And it's so many of us are living paycheck to paycheck.
And that's not a good life to live, because it affects us emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually.
Sleep and rest and being able to make decisions, and just,
you're living almost like, this toxic chain of, like, I almost felt, I was like, oh, this is what people meant to say, that we're in the hamster wheel, right?
Yes.
You're in the little hamster wheel, but you're not going anywhere.
Right.
And so I think with what you just said, I think it's very important to highlight that people need to get uncomfortable first to get comfortable.
Right.
You're already struggling. Right. You're already struggling.
That's so the thing. It's like, life is already stressful. Like, let's fix it now so that the rest of it can be better.
Yes. So, you have to sacrifice a little bit.
Right.
A little bit more for you to then get that longevity And that's stress-free. Imagine, people, you get to go to Starbucks and treat yourself without guilt.
Yeah, I did that yesterday, and it came out of the dining out fund. Like, there's money there for that every month. So,
and you didn't feel guilt. You could order that venti, right, Haley?
I did.
That doesn't mean that you get to do it every day, but you don't need it every day. That's the thing. So when you realize that, life-changing. You'll be so much better. And I think, again, tying it down to almost like the diet culture, I feel like, when you learn that there's really no diet, the diet is just you learning your portions. You learning how to eat healthy, how to choose healthy. It's not about it not being delicious. Oh my God, there's so many delicious healthy foods.
Right, exactly.
It's like a whole new world.
See, I think that's another thing that I've said before about like, people think of a diet as something somebody else is telling them they have to do. And people, who aren't already in my version of what budgeting is, they hear the word budget and they think it's somebody else telling them how to spend their money. And that's not what a budget is at all. A budget is you deciding, these are my priorities. And in order for me to be happy with the way I'm living my life and be able to do the things I want to do, I'm going to choose to say no to this and to only go out for coffee 3 times a month because my trip to Europe is more important than that next summer, or my whatever. And so the budget is entirely your decision. Like, I'm never going to tell someone, no, you really shouldn't, spend the money on that, or you should. I'm going to ask questions about, is there anywhere else you could cut? Or have you considered doing this differently if you're telling me this is a priority? But it's all up to every individual person. And that's what is so magical about it,
Yes. Like, you think that it's going to hurt not to be able to go to Starbucks every morning. Because I had coworkers every morning. They would show up with their Starbucks.
Yes.
And it was painful for me because I couldn't do that. And I'm like, how did she get to do that? And I don't get to do that. Well, she has a lot of debt. Because it's so easy just to scan it. Like you said, now you just press, Google or Apple Pay, and that's it. You don't even, you're not even thinking about it.
You don't feel the pain in the moment.
No. So, but then you get to choose, and you're like, oh, it's me having the power. It's almost like you waking up and having that conscious mind and being mindful when you spend. Right.
And getting to design your dream life. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why mindfulness, you're right. Like, so there's the 3 pillars of what I do. It's, money, mindfulness, and minimalism. Yes. And so I send out the money memo every weekend. And those are the 3 things that I send articles on, because that informs everything about how we spend our money. So.
Oh my God. You guys need to go find Haley. If you guys are just listening to us, go to the description box. I'm going to have all your links there to your social medias and to your website. If you don't know where to start with Haley. Start with Haley, because you've done the research, you've gone through the certifications, you're very knowledgeable, you're living what you're teaching.
I'm on the other side of it, and I know what it's like.
Yes. And I think something that really caught my attention when I came across your account is that you're really just giving us so many good tips. Like, even if you guys can't work with her at the moment or can't find the budget or whatever it is, it's okay, you guys. Start with her videos that are free, that are 1 minute long, sometimes even less. And they're accessible, but you have to start somewhere. You have to face those demons and those patterns that you're used to. There is another way of living. But I say the best investment is when you invest in yourself. And this is something that's definitely worth it. Start with your subscription. Start looking at your monthly bills. Where is the money going? Trace that money.
That's right.
Trace it. I think that's very important. What am I spending my money on? Why do I not have anything until next week?
Right. Yep.
Where did I go wrong?
Where did it go? Is it in alignment with what I value?
Exactly. And that's why you can't get that dream house. That's why you can't go on that dream trip, because you're putting so many things in front of it that are kind of putting a Band-Aid over you for the day.
Right. Right. Like, so we stop saying, I can't afford it. And we start saying, I didn't budget for it. It's just not a priority.
Words.
Right now.
Aren't words so powerful, Haley?
Yes. Yeah, it puts you in control. Your money's not controlling you. You're deciding where your money goes based on what's important to you. And I tell my kids this all the time because they're like, why can't we buy this? It's not that we can't afford it. It's that I didn't budget for it. It's not a priority right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I remember during quarantine 2020, we all went crazy with Amazon. If you guys deny it, don't lie. I know we all went crazy because those poor Amazon workers were complaining on TikTok left and right, UPS, FedEx, everybody was complaining. And I think, that says a lot about where we were mentally, right? Mm-hmm. We were feeling insecure. We were feeling scared. We were feeling so many things. We were buying, and I'm so sorry for my French, but we were buying crap that we didn't need.
Right, exactly. Yep, we were just grasping at something. Maybe when this arrives, I'll feel better. Maybe when, and just hitting the, purchase button just makes you feel that. I mean, it's a dopamine hit. It makes you feel better. But there's other ways to do this.
Yes, definitely. Trust me that your brain will thank you when it doesn't have so much stress. When you're not stressing about, am I going to afford my kids' wardrobe for next year?
Right.
They want this backpack because everything's so expensive now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But when you budget yourself, when you know what you want, when you know what you need, then you'll spend wisely. You'll look for other ways. You become resourceful.
You'll be surprised what you can come up with if you decide that, this is a priority. I want to figure this out. The people that I'm working with now on the Budget Map beta version, the stuff they've come up with already is just the guy that sold his car. And he's already, I think, retired, and he decided to go back and get a part-time job, and he's starting that to accelerate his debt payoff process. So, wow. I mean, and he never would have, that wasn't already on his agenda to do that. So working with me, it's like, oh, I could try that. I could do that. And I didn't even suggest it. But when you open that can of worms in your mind, suddenly you start thinking of, how else could I solve this? And the stuff that comes up is just amazing.
Oh my God. So if you guys are listening to this, I just, please go and check out her website, because you have free resources. You have so much information.
Lots of free stuff.
Lots of it. So if you guys can afford to hire her, at least take advantage of what she puts out for free. It's better to start somewhere than never starting.
Definitely.
I love your content. Was it hard for you to start on TikTok?
Oh, it was very hard. I had this idea last, October, November, and I didn't start on TikTok until May. And I had kind of set a deadline for myself. I went back for my college reunion, and I wanted to, when I went and, met people and talked with people, I wanted to be able to say, I launched my business and here it is, and here's how you can find me. So I'm like, well, I guess I have to be live by then. So I started. And, but I mean, it's with anything in life. If you're not okay with, starting terribly or sucking at the beginning, you're never going to get anywhere. So you just have to start.
Yes.
So, you have to be okay with being an amateur.
Yes. And that is in every aspect of your life, you guys. Yeah. Any aspect of your life, you have to start. But I think the fear of letting others see us start from the bottom sometimes holds us back, right? Our ego kind of gets in the way of I can't start at zero. How embarrassing.
Right.
But you don't realize that the people that, are in front of you that came before us, they all started somewhere.
They all started at zero. Yeah, they had 0 views, 0 followers. They built it from the ground up. So,
yes. Oh, Haley, I feel like it's just been 5 minutes and it hasn't.
Right.
Oh my God, can we be best friends? Fun. Can we be best friends?
I feel like it.
You are just amazing. And I really hope that people find you and that are able to learn from you like I've been able to learn from you. I'm still in my journey. I'm still there.
Yeah.
But I said, I need to face my demons. I need to face my mistakes. And I'm creating more shame for myself if I don't start somewhere.
Yes, starting makes such a difference. And,
Yes.
that's something that so my 7-week program is launching in January, and it's going to help people just start to just get it off the ground. And no, you're not going to pay off all your debt in 7 weeks. Of course not.
No.
But you'll have a roadmap to feel more confident, and just simply writing it out in the way that I explain and seeing it all makes you feel so much more in control and empowered to start your journey,
Yes. No, I want to thank you so much for your time. I wish we could just keep on going, but I know your time is valuable. Yes. And so I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. I hope, the audience takes something away from today. Mm-hmm. And knowing that you guys have the power, you're not stuck where you are. There is a solution for it. It's going to be painful. It's going to feel lonely, but you're not alone. And the pain goes away and peace feels so much better.
It really does. It's incredible.
Yes. So
thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome.
Yes. You guys tune in next week, and I will see you guys later. Bye, Haley.
Bye.